Very good morning. This is RK. Welcome to my channel. You know, almost 4.5 billion years ago Earth formed. And Earth is the only planet where you'll find life. If you observe on the Earth, you'll find both living organisms and non-living things. Non-living things are made up of atoms and molecules, whereas living things are made up of cells. Even the cells contains both atoms and molecules. Now let us see, cell is the basic unit of life. Cell is the basic unit of life, and cells are the building blocks of living organisms. And cells are also called as the structural and the functional unit of life. Cell is the basic unit of life and they are the building blocks of living organisms, and the cells are also called as the structural and functional unit of a life. Why it is called as a structural unit and why it is called as a functional unit? That means it is called as a structural unit because the cells form a structure of an organism. Cells form the structure of an organism. Like group of cells together called as tissues. Group of tissues together called as organs. Group of organs together called as organ systems. Group of organ systems together called as organisms. So it is called as a structural unit of a life. Cell is a structural unit of a life as it forms structure of an organism, as group of cells together called as tissues, and group of tissues together called as organs, and group of organs together called as organ systems, and group of organ systems together called as organisms. And why it is called as a functional unit? That means because a cell will perform all the activities of a body, like physiological, genetical, biochemical. So it is called as a functional unit of a life. It is called as a functional unit of a life as a cell will perform all the activities of an organism like physiological, genetical and biochemical functions in a body. So it is called as functional unit of a life. For the first time in the year of 1665, the scientist called as Robert Hooke discovered a cell. For the first time, in the year of 1665, a scientist called as Robert Hooke discovered a cell. He observed a cock under his own magnifying lens and he found that number of cavities like small rooms, and he named them as a cell. In the year of 1674, the scientist called as Anthony van Leeuwenhoek is also called as father of microbiology, and he discovered a compound microscope. He observed a living cell under his own magnifying lens. In the year of 1674, the scientist called as Anthony van Leeuwenhoek is also called as father of microbiology, and he discovered a compound microscope. For the first time, he observed by using his own magnifying lens, that is a living cell. Further, in the year of 1831. The scientist called as Robert Brown discovered nucleus. Actually, in 18th century, the scientist called as Felix Fontana observed nucleus. For the first time in 18th century, Felix Fontana observed nucleus. But the complete credit goes to Robert Brown, because Felix Fontana observed a nucleus in epithelial cells, the outermost layer of human body. But Robert Brown, he observed a nucleus in orchid leaves and also other cells also. And finally he confirmed that almost all the cells contains a nucleus. The complete conclusion, the presence of a nucleus in all the cells given by the Robert Brown. So the complete credit goes to Robert Brown. Now let us see the structure of a cell. Structure of a cell. The outermost part of a cell is called as cell wall. The inner protecting membrane is called as cell membrane, or call them as plasma membrane. A thick fluid present in a cell is called as cytoplasm. And find, as in our body we will find number of organs to perform various activities, in the same way to perform different activities in a cell we will find organelles. Organelles like nucleus, which controls activities of whole cell. It's a controlling unit. Controlling unit of a cell. Ribosomes. Ribosomes are the protein factories of a cell. Which was studied in endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum. It is a membranous organelle which shares its some part of a membrane with nucleus and contains ribosomes. So they are called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum, which is studded with ribosomes, they are called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. Without ribosomes, they are called as soft endoplasmic reticulum or smooth endoplasmic reticulum. If the ribosomes are studded in endoplasmic reticulum, they are called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. Without ribosomes, the endoplasmic reticulum is called as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And remaining part of endoplasmic reticulum will help in production of lipids. Chromoplast. Chromoplast is the site of photosynthesis. Site of photosynthesis. Golgi apparatus. Proteins from endoplasmic reticulum, if they require further any modification of proteins, then it will be transported to the Golgi apparatus. Finally, mitochondria. It's called as powerhouse of a cell. Based on presence of number of cells in an organism, they are further classified into two types. Based on presence of number of cells in an organism, they are further classified into two types. They are called as unicellular organisms and multicellular organism. Unicellular organisms, uni indicates single, also called as single cellular organisms. That means an organism that contains only one cell. So they are called as unicellular organisms. An organism that contains only one cell. So they are called as unicellular organisms. For example, amoeba, paramecium, euglena, etc. Further, these unicellular organisms are classified into prokaryotic organisms and eukaryotic organisms. Prokaryotic organisms are the primitive organisms, and there are also the unicellular organisms where we do not find any kind of membrane bound nucleus or organelles. Not found any membrane bound nucleus or organelles. Whereas in case of the eukaryotic organisms or maybe unicellular or multicellular will find well defined nucleus and membrane bound organelles. If we observe the prokaryotic cell, they consist of a cell wall, whereas in case of the eukaryotic cell, we do not find a cell wall, but in case of the plants and fungi, contains a cell wall. If you see the size of a cell, it may vary from 0.2 micrometers to 2 micrometers in range, whereas eukaryotic cells ranges from 10 micrometers to 100 micrometers, comparatively larger than prokaryotic cells. Example: bacteria, archaea, example of eukaryotic: plants, animals, fungi, etc. Now let us see multicellular organisms. Multi indicates many. That means an organism contains more than one cell. It's called as multicellular organism. Example of this multicellular: plants, animals, etc. Now let us see the differences between plant cell and animal cell. Plant cell contains a cell wall. whereas animal cell do not contain a cell wall. Plant cell contains a chromoplast, helps in photosynthesis process, whereas animal cell, absence of chromoplast. Plant cell contains a large vacuole, occupies almost 90% of the space. Animal cell contains one or more vacuoles smaller than plant cell. In case of the plant cell, centrioles are absent. Centrioles are the cells which are helpful for cell division. Centrioles are present. The shape of plant cell is fixed with rectangular shape. Whereas in case of the animal cell, we will find different kinds of the cells like round shape, oval shape, star shape, and nerve cell, if you observe it, it has a body and a tail. So like this, we will find different shapes in case of the animal cell. Now let us see how to observe a cells under microscope. First we'll start with matchstick cell. Aim, observation of matchstick cell. Materials required to perform an activity. We need some materials like slide, cover slip, matchstick, wooden matchstick, microscope, and water. Procedure. First, we need to take a wooden matchstick and we need to soak it in a water for an hour. After that, cut into a thin slices. Among the thin slices, take a thin slice on a slide. Place it on a slide and put a drop of water and cover it with the help of a cover slip and observe it under the microscope. If you observe it under the microscope, you will find that some rectangular shaped cells. As we have learnt earlier, we know that wood is a plant cell. So, a plant cell always fixed with rectangular shape. So, we can able to observe a rectangular shaped cells under the microscope. Now, let us see observation of onion bulb. Onion cell, observation of onion cell. For this, we need to peel a onion, piece of onion. First, we need to peel a piece of onion from a fleshy onion bulb and break it into two pieces. You will notice that a thin translucent membrane connecting two pieces. Separate the membrane from the two pieces and cut it into the pieces and place it on the slide in a drop of water. To find a clear nucleus, you need to add an indicator, safranin or methyl blue indicator. We need to stain to observe the nucleus with the help of safranin and methyl blue indicator and cover it with the help of a cover slip and observe it under the microscope. You will find that a fixed rectangular shaped cells with dark colored nucleus as it is stained in safranin or methyl blue. Because onion it is a part of a plant cell. So already we learned that a plant cell always fixed with rectangular shaped cells. So we can able to see a rectangular shaped cells even in case of the onion cells. Now let us see the cheek cell. While observing a cheek cell, one thing you should keep in your mind that while scraping inner side of your cheek, you should not scrap very hardly, otherwise you will be affected yourself. And before scraping, you need to wash your mouth with clean water. And for scraping, use clean wooden or plastic spoon and scrap inner side of a cheek. And collect the scraping material on this slide. To observe the nucleus, we need to stain with the help of safranin or methyl blue indicator and cover it with the help of cover slip and observe it under the microscope. We'll find that a circular or irregular shaped cells. As we learned earlier, we know that the plant cells are fixed with rectangular shaped cells, but animal cells are irregular in shape, or there is no particular shape for each and every cell of an animal. For example, let us take it here. Muscle cells. Muscle cells are having a spindle shaped cell. Bone cells are star shaped cells. If you see the nerve cells are tree-like shape. Nerve cells are looks like a tree-like shape. If you take the blood cells, red blood cells are maybe circular or oval in shape. And white blood cells, they are in different shape, they will be exhibiting. Some are round, some are without any shape. So like this, the animal cells are exhibiting different shapes in different cells. There is no particularly a fixed shape for animal cell. If we observe a transverse section of dicot stem, if we observe a transverse section of a dicot stem, we'll find various spots here, like the outermost layer we call as epidermis, outermost layer we call as epidermis. Inner to the epidermis, we will find number of parenchymal cells. we'll find number of parenchymal cells. And below that, we'll find vascular bundles. Oval shaped vascular bundles. Vascular bundles include xylem and phloem. Both indicates vascular. Xylem and phloem together called as vascular bundles. And middle space we call as a pith, where we will find the remaining part of the food will be stored in pith. The outermost layer we call as epidermis. Below to the epidermis we will find parenchymal cells, and inner to the parenchymal cells we will find a xylem and phloem together called as vascular bundles, and innermost we will find a pith. And if you observe it, already we have learned that the cells are the basic unit of a life, and the range, the size of a cell may ranges from 0.2 to almost in case of the prokaryotes up to 2 micrometers, whereas in case of the eukaryotes we learned that 10 to 100 micrometers in length. Some of them are naked on large cells, you can able to see that. Like in case of the ostrich egg is the largest cell where we find on the earth. It's almost 17 centimeters into 18 centimeters range, which you can able to see with our naked eye. And even our human nerve cell, almost 90 centimeters in length. And a cell need to perform all the activities in a body, and cell will use a definite structure of an organism. So it is called as the basic unit of life. With this, we'll end the class. We'll meet again in the next class. Till then, bye bye.